Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retribution's bonus levels. We're going to be playing them. There's 4 of them because they couldn't just keep it at 3. They even forgot to capitalize the B in bonus for the 4th one, so that's kind of funny. And we will be obeying the same rules where even though we're playing in the Brood War, like the expansion selection, we're not going to be using Brood War units. I know I broke that rule a few times in the first 2 campaigns, and then to my own detriment, I did not break the rule in the Zerg campaign. Very unfortunate because really would have benefited from having lurkers in a couple of those maps, but that's okay. In this playthrough, which is obviously not live, what I'm going to try to do is talk a little bit more about the way that Retribution's maps fail to engage the player. And I'm probably going to elaborate a little bit more on some of the more specific elements where they could have improved in some of the other maps when I do the review. I might use a couple of examples in there. Whereas in this case, I'm just assuming that they're not going to engage me, and I'm going to talk about why that is with the particular maps that I'm going to be talking about, like that we're going to be playing. But I also wanted to echo something that I said at the end of the 3rd stream, which was for the Zerg campaign, where I talked about how this is a commercial product. People paid money for this. And I don't assume that WizardWorks was like the most prestigious organization back in the day. I don't think that they had a grand salary for their developers, but presumably more than one guy worked on this, even though the work that we can experience here is not indicative of that, beyond obviously the voices do seem to be of different actors. So the work that we're experiencing 99% of the time, because we're mostly not in the briefing screens, is not something that would take a very heavy amount of prior knowledge to make, nor amount of time invested into the development and bug testing and conceptual stages. None of that would be required. You don't really need to be a grand StarCraft map maker in order to make maps that are of this caliber or better. And I'm going to try to elaborate a little bit more on that, be a little bit more on the analytical side for this recording, because of the fact that I was a little bit more aloof in the live streams. It's just a natural event anyways, because I'm engaging with the people in the chat, and sometimes they'll have questions that don't necessarily relate to this, and that's fine. Here we don't have that distraction, so we can fully focus on the analysis of why Retribution is failing, albeit with regards to its bonus maps, but I'll probably try to draw on some conclusions and draw on some examples from the past maps that we've dealt with. So, Jungle War, the first map here. The Zerg here are trying to settle down in this area. Make sure they don't. Now, actually, this is kind of a fine point to make, I suppose, at the beginning, is Retribution doesn't have any grand, overdramatic plots. People in my Discord server often use the word anime to describe these, but you can describe them any way you wish. They really aren't that overdramatic. They're very basic. They're very simple. It's very much, hey, this is grounded in StarCraft. Somewhere in StarCraft, the Zerg are trying to settle down in this area. Maybe it's Aradas, maybe it's something related to that. Maybe it's somewhere else in the Caprilu sector. Who cares? It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are Terran or Protoss or whatever, and you're fighting Zerg. That's literally it. That's all we give a shit about. Okay, that's fine. That's a totally fine thing to do if you're not really trying to take your storytelling too seriously and you just want to let your gameplay do the talking. I am much more obliged to, embrace that as opposed to worrying about something else. About trying to follow your silly, zany story, like in Echoes or something. And generally speaking, a lot of the time when somebody uses the term anime to describe something, or the labels of being overdramatic, you'll oftentimes see this idea that the story is intruding on gameplay space. That we get micro missions because that's the only way that the story could resolve. That we get these smaller scale or zoomed in or gimmicked out areas of gameplay because that's the way that the story intrudes into the gameplay space. And it reminds you at every turn that this is what's going on because the story is not really suited for an RTS experience, but it still is there, and so the developers still want to shoehorn it in some way. We didn't really see that too many times in Retribution, right? There was not very many times where our tech tree was disabled in some way, shape, or form. I think that happened once in the Protoss map or something. I think we were going into a cave and we couldn't build air units, something like that. And maybe that was a Terran campaign, I don't really remember. But the bottom line is that there's some instances of it happening. There's obviously some micro missions, some installation missions, but you don't really see that too often in Retribution. It's really shocking considering it came out literally before Brood War, even. So in 1998, some months after the original game, and yet we still were able to you know, make something that was at the very least mediocre. Obviously, as a commercial product, it fails in every regard. But as a custom campaign made by some hobbyist in a weekend, it's totally reasonable in terms of its quality. This is the baseline that you should be aiming for, and yet so many campaigns went underneath it. So let's just get started in Jungle War, dude. Really burns me up that every time we find a new planet to colonize, we find out it's infested with Zerg. Well, on the brass is with me on this one, and we have to go ahead and toast the Zerg forces that are trying to settle in this jungle area. I don't know what the fucking last line is. That was scrolled by way too fast. Kill the Zerg intruders. You got it, dude. No Zerg here. It's not allowed. How do I play StarCraft? Just had to play some... Wow. Somebody put a lot of effort into this. Holy moly. Alright. I haven't played Terran in a while. So... You know, this little parting in the raised jungle... well, I expected that to be in one of the last Zerg maps where there was a Protoss base on the high ground. I actually thought, like, it was on the raised jungle, and I thought there would be a like a hole in the raised jungle, but there wasn't. So when you use raised jungle and you're not using SCM draft or something like that, you are liable to... well, you should just know that, for one, it doesn't actually count as a height difference. So unlike high dirt, for example, if a unit was up here shooting my Marine, there would be no mischance. There would be no vision denial. That's why we can see up it. And this is important to note because vision is a huge part, and that mischance is a huge part of the defender's advantage, generally speaking, in melee maps, but also just about the game balance. So as we're walking through this mostly raised jungle map, it seems, we can see up, and we can see that there's a base up there. Now, here's something that you may not know, is that there's no ramps available in the default editor for raised jungle. So when we see something like this, we know that raised jungle is 100% an island. If these maps weren't made with SCM draft or some other extended editor, we know that there can't possibly be any area where there's a ramp a way up into this sphere. So the AI would have to drop on us. So since most of the time AI doesn't immediately get something like, I don't know why I'm building a depot because I have a billion supply, but since most of the time they don't get transport until later on, and also since most of the time they're going to target, you know, closer enemy forces, so we could just like find their base and station a couple buildings over there, we can actually lift off and use our racial advantage here. I don't know if the developers thought that this was just a neat little thing that you could do as the player, or if they even thought this far ahead. I'm willing to bet that they didn't, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a perfectly valid strategy. The problem is, again, I don't think that this is intentional. Sort of like in the previous stream, the Zerg campaign where we were playing that, we had this whole experience, excuse me, where we were experiencing the presence of like multiple attacks targeting the same bases from different players. And I'm pretty sure this was entirely a happy accident. Speaking of multiple players, it looks like we were getting annihilated because I didn't realize that there was more than one enemy. I should have been more knowledgeable, I guess. Will we get him? No. We will lose 4 fucking SCVs. How do I play the game? Alright, well, it's okay. Can't group select that. Or box select it. No, this is a better position. Oh no! 3 Hydralisks! It's Zerg campaign, easy, if you couldn't tell. Oh no, maybe all of the Zerg campaigns, have the same attacks. I feel like I remember hearing about that. There's one of the Zerg campaigns that are actually broken, and in unmodded StarCraft will always break 100% of the time. But, I don't remember if that was the easy one or the hard one. It's been so long. I never have to worry about that personally in my own projects, because of course I mod, and I take care of business that way. But, you know, easy come, easy go. So as we sit here waiting for some more action, I guess this means that T will probably attack me from the right. Or from the bottom left or something. I don't have a comp stat, even though I could have got one at the beginning of the game. One of the things that I probably didn't talk too much about, just because I feel like it's probably been spoken of to death overall, was the fact that you really don't have that many options for early game harassment in this overall production. It's kind of unfortunate, but it is a fact of reality in this case. We never really have the opportunity to do whatever it is we want to do in the early game, which is like scout and harass. Like even where we were scouting with our first couple of Marines, we find a sunken colony there, so it's not like we can scout to see what tech the enemy has. And they haven't given us any inkling that they will actually be using different attack patterns or tech patterns, army compositions, anything to set them apart from what the others do. So because that is indeed a reality, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that we've got 2 AIs. Maybe there's going to be a third one that turns on later, because that seems to be something that occurs every now and then. And just to safeguard... Oh, yeah. I knew this might happen. Check out that Moonwalker. Moonwalker. It's okay, we can handle him that way. Yeah, I wonder why that's very bizarre. Whatever. No big deal. Go ahead and do that. Ah, we weren't done researching. No wonder it didn't work. But yeah. I forget what I was in the middle saying. Because we don't... Oh, well, there is a blue guy. I'm not sure what's up with him. Why? Why? Is this a prank? Thanks. Thanks for shooting him, dude. Oh. Oh. Why? I don't know why that happened. Very perplexing. Anyway, they can fly over my missile turrets a second time, I guess. That's fine. Right. And I guess we'll just play this like we did all the other ones. But yeah, not a whole lot going on here. Interesting that we are seeing a larger scale mission in terms of number of opponents in this mission than we had in any of the default missions. I don't think we were ever up against... Oh no, there was that one time where we were up against Purple Protoss as well. I should have known. So this is another thing that you can always know in this particular campaign, is that the way that they have their shit set up, shockingly enough, you will not really see any custom colors or anything like that. So when you see something like, you know, purple, right, we can assume that we are dealing with 4 players minimum. Because for some reason, they were very adamant about not just like changing up the player. So, for example, the Dominion is meant to be red. We're always red. That's always how the Dominion is. But obviously we were fighting the Dominion several times, and they were rarely red. Oh, that's not even true though, because they used white all the time. They used white for the Dominion forces, the special forces. So it's just not even consistent now that I think about it. That's funny. Mostly in a sad way, but you know, can't win them all. So we've got our little outpost here. This is probably the only expansion we'll need to take, if I had to guess. Even though it's a map with seemingly funny expos. Make some more men. We've got our upgrades going. Allegedly. According to some individuals. Some fake news motherfuckers. But yeah, we're not experiencing heavy resistance despite having 3 enemies.
Not enough minerals.
Make of that what you will, I suppose. Hey, no inaccessible mineral fields in this area either. Not even in here, so far. Not even for the enemy so far. As a matter of fact. Who would have guessed? So, some trick that you may have seen me do a few times. Oh. Wow. Is if I'm thinking that like a unit SCV is in the way while building something, you can actually cancel them and then order them to right click and they'll move away. So if I wanted to build, say this depot wasn't here and I wanted to build it, I could cancel the SCV. Not a crazy high APM trick. Most people probably already know about it, but in case you didn't, now you do. So let's scan, find our opponents. Wow, 5 drones on minerals.
Not enough energy.
So I'll just get on out of here. More tanks, please. See, as soon as I forget to train units, I have about 30,000 minerals. 30,000. That's more than 20,000. And it has 3 in it. Wuckery. I think Wuckery was actually the name of a building in one of my map prep submissions. Oh, don't tell me this is another... I thought there was going to be a way to access the top right blue base. They haven't attacked me once, by the way. So apparently not. Apparently you can't. That's depressing. What is with this tiny lake here on top of it? Whatever, we'll just go annihilate them. We definitely don't have the gas for battlecruisers. Hi. Thanks. Appreciate it. So they have broodlings already. We probably should scramble a few wraiths, but... I won't. What a mess. Hi. Wow. You can tell they actually didn't start out with too much pre-placed stuff in this. Well, no, you can't, actually. They may have placed the structures themselves in the editor. Fuck that bagel. What's up, dude? So they don't appear to have too many production structures, which will prove to be their ultimate downfall. They are? Oh, hi. What's up, dude? I didn't realize you made it all the way here. Come back. They don't have the energy for anything but ensnare, apparently, so that's fine, I guess. Very strange that this is, like, at first I thought, oh, maybe they'll... Hey. Annihilated. Double kill! But yeah, at first I was like, oh, they, you know, they'll have some pre-placed junk that we can grind through, but they didn't really even have that here. So there actually wasn't any gameplay. So obviously, we're not being engaged in this case because we're literally doing nothing. So we've annihilated this player pretty summarily, I think. Indeed, they are dead. We're not even using control groups. I don't know if you can tell. We do have a couple of ultras over here that we have to deal with. That we failed to deal with because my SCVs were never actually... Oh, great. Never actually shooting the opponent. Or repairing, rather. Just pull them away. We don't actually need any resources, so we're fine. Oh, we accidentally moved that. Oh yeah, there is some pre-placed junk in the form of this purple player, but apparently there wasn't much in the other areas. Alright, moving up in the world of video gaming YouTube. This is the kind of content people subscribe for. JK. And I guess I'm more on a channel-related note, now that I think about it, as we watch this tank spin while ensnared. I I've asked this a few times before, but people do seem to enjoy the live streamed videos more. But if you're more of a fan of this kind of content, I'm sure I can make space for it where it's a little bit more focused because I'm not really doing anything but playing, and I'm not really looking for a live audience and any interaction thereof. Oh, I had 4 tanks. But I can do both. I'm not really sure what the schedule would look like for that, but, you know. Really, there's not much to say here because the problem is so very elementary, where the AI is not doing anything. Like, if you don't like SimCitying up in StarCraft, odds are you're not going to enjoy playing this because there's nothing to do but SimCity and A-move a few times. I think at some point in the Antioch 3 campaign playthrough or review, somewhere in there, it was discussed by Mesk that you want to target an APM of like 100 to 120 as your minimum. Because that, even as a casual player, it's not difficult to achieve 120 or 100 APM. It might seem like a daunting task if you're notorious for being 40, but if you're really on your toes and engaged in a melee context, even where you're playing melee, it's not that difficult to get up to that as an average across an entire game. And indeed, even at my worst points, I'm about 100, which is for sure nothing to be, especially proud of, but something to consider as a developer. And the reason why that benchmark is important, I think, is because it's actually something that will help you figure out, what to expect going forward. If you are not at that level of, 120 APM or whatever, you're probably not being engaged. And indeed, I'm not being engaged right now, I can tell you that much. Oh, cool, they had an expansion. I don't know if this was pre-placed or not. But, oh, check that out. No, these guys are, the reason why they never attacked is probably because they're the melee script. That's the only one, unless they're insane. But no, there's no way they're insane and not attacking, though. So, I have no fucking idea. They do have a lot of mutas. We could say even an insane number of mutas. Alright, I guess we might have to start using control groups. Alright, let's pull back from here, though, into the safe zone. The safe haven. But yeah, like, it's not hard for me to achieve 120 APM. Don't believe the, don't believe everything you see. I definitely can achieve that level of play. The main issue is that we never have to. In all of my playthroughs, there's very, very rarely am I being tested from a difficulty perspective where it is important for me to execute a specific amount of, well, it's important for me to demonstrate a certain amount of skill. That's very rarely the case. Oh, cool, I can go and kill that. Oh, cool, I can build more of these.
Upgrade complete. Additional supply depots required.
I'm building them right now. There we go. It's a more reasonable number of men. But yeah, even in this case where it's very clear I'm not particularly engaged, I'm probably averaging about 80. And that's with being really, really distracted.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh, fuck. Where's my backup, dude?
Your forces are under attack.
Bye! Yeah, we're attacking 2 towns at once. They're definitely going to be butthurt about that. Alright. Use some of this newfound gas. We'll come over here and start mining this newfound gas. And generally speaking... Oh, maybe we can get him out of here with a missile turret. Wait for it. It's very important, guys. Oh, well, hold on. We'll get him out with another one. No, you can't go that way. You gotta go this way. Oh, that works. Maybe. Oh! Take that, Zerg kidnappers. Operation Rescue is a go.
Orders received. Reporting for duty. Yes, sir. Roger that.
Alright, cool. Hi. Ah! Defend against a battlecruiser with an ultra. Oh, hi. What are you doing? Wait, how did he... Oh, he got hit with a fucking... That's sick. Alright, let's get some more Goliaths. We're probably gonna need them. But yeah. Probably averaging about 80. I don't know. I kind of wish there was a way to track that, for sure, but...
Make it happen.
Hi.
Your forces are under attack.
Well, I guess we will continue our onslaught here. So despite this AI defending a lot more actively than the others, he still isn't really much of anything other than a benchmark or a delay.
Your forces are under attack.
Like he's precisely that pretty much.
Receiving
All right.
transmission.
Destination? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Bye.
Your forces are under
Alright,
attack.
we'll clear some of these out anyway. These are partially belonging to the area town.
Your forces are under attack.
Annihilated.
Hailing frequencies. Take
Alright,
it
cool.
slow.
Our battlecruiser purchases paid off.
Convoy
Unlike our fucking Goliaths.
channel open. Hailing frequencies open.
I wonder why they're defending so aggressively with just mutas.
Make it happen.
Your forces are under attack.
All crews
The snare will be a little annoying, but I think we can still annihilate them. The thing is, even observations made by Blizzard that you can clearly tell have been made by Blizzard by looking at their melee script, like Zerg need a lot of hatcheries, and Zerg expand more than the other races, and build less drones per expansion and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, man. It seems like it would be really obvious. But it isn't. Alright, now we will...
Forces are under attack.
Now we will retreat into the loving clutches
Complete.
of our Goliaths. Alright, now we'll go ahead and kill them.
Your forces are under attack.
Yes, sir. Proceed.
They don't have Aspire anymore, so... I suppose they should have aspired to be better at the fucking game.
Delighted to, sir.
target designated. Convoy online.
That's all I got for this one, man. Pretty boring, I gotta say.
Upgrade.
Not a whole lot going on here.
Upgrade.
And the battle cruiser I'll just use to clear that out. They probably have rebuilt the base. I can probably reach it with some tanks, actually.
Now locked. Target designated.
I did play around at some point with making killing drones a requirement to consider an enemy dead. I still think it might actually be worthwhile in certain cases, like free-for-alls that are where enemies are unlikely to Like, you really should have to put them all down, right? If you think about all of the free-for-alls that you may have played in your own career as a StarCraft player, I think it's fine to, just to consider. And maybe you would have been able to do something there if you had drone in a couple of resources. But yeah, 30 minutes for the first mission. I mean, obviously some of that was me meandering. It's Necron! Hold on, Necron. I'll talk to you in a second. Some of that was me meandering. But the takeaways from that mission is that it's just a linear pathway. And actually, one of the things that I was thinking about is what we might end up doing at some point. Not for this thing, because I don't have the setup for it right now, but what we might end up doing for one of the other projects, or if I get a request to go back and cover a specific map, one of the things that I can do, and this would most likely not be live streamed, though maybe it would be better in some cases, because people could ask questions that maybe I didn't get to or cover in detail in my broad strokes analysis. But if you have an idea for a map that you want me to cover in an editor review, where I open it up in the editor, and maybe I go back to like a playthrough of mine where I did it and I just like fast forward through a couple of things, like I go back to one of these streams and find the timestamp for it. Something like that might be possible. It certainly is easy for me to do, just off the cuff. If you want a more planned out thing, that would definitely take longer and be a bit more hit or miss in that sense, but just something to think about if it's content that you're interested in. But what I can say about this is that it was just a straight line. And, well, it was a curved line. It was a U-shape, but sideways. Horseshoe in that case. Not really a whole lot of content there. There's just pit stops along the way. Granted, we did have a couple of expansions. And granted, the AI did take them, which is the first time we've seen in any of the Retribution maps the AI taking expansions. When, there were a couple of times the AI had pre-placed ones. So maybe that'll be a consistent factor going forward. But the map size actually gets smaller in the second map. And even smaller in the third map until it finally balloons up to a massive size comparatively. So we'll see what's up with that. But Zerg Invasion, Zerg Retribution against the Terran Insurrection. Now, I don't know if this is a jab at Insurrection, the other official add-on, but they misspelled Insurrection, which is either intentional or whatever. But let's see Necron talk.
As I was once one of them, I can truly attest to their pathetic existence. The Terrans have thwarted our expansion on this planet, so we must now teach them not to interfere with the swarm. Kill them all.
Kill them all. Alright, dude, we're eliminating the Terran scum. Fuck those Terrans. Terranor. Friend Raynor. Alright. See what else we got here. This is a little bit more fresh in my memory, considering that's all I fucking did was go Mass Hydra. I did also go Mass Muta, but that was later. Alright, let's go with our queen. Now again, smaller maps are fine if you intend to have them be more intimate, situations. But, still, the conflicts shouldn't waste the player's time. I can imagine a situation where you just want a small skirmish, and you just want, max 100 food armies smacking into each other. Theoretically, that would be the average playthrough of the map, would be just somebody getting up to, 50 or 100 food or something. Similar to what we did before. I don't actually look at our food cap at any point. It's probably much smaller than that. It's probably 50, as opposed to 100. But we see 3... because of purple, like I talked about in the previous one, so there's blue on the top right. In this case, look at all the shit that's pre-placed. I'm going to have to grind through all that, eventually. And that just means it's going to be more time, spent preparing for that assault. Whereas I can't do anything but macro up in the early stages. In an ideal world, yeah, I might still be expanding and using a macro hatchery. But that shouldn't be the only option that I have. Even in a situation where I'm in a 1v3. Now, naturally, if your opponents were competent, there would be no way that they could lose a 1v3. So there is that. But how I would resolve this without changing the situation where there's an AI ally or something, because of course that's not really quite the same spirit of the map or whatever, is if you wanted us to do something like, a more, I guess just an outright better RTS experience using this as a sort of blueprint. All you have to do is just... I thought I already ordered that, but I guess not. All you have to do is make it so that some of these AIs arrive later. So like maybe it starts off at a 1v1, and then a second AI arrives, and so you have that amount of time to do a crippling blow, or get your macro set up, or feel out the how aggressive the enemies are going to be, and all that. Like in this case, they didn't even activate the AIs at different timings. Or maybe they did for Teal. He seems to be a little bit less on the ball in that respect. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like it's a crazy idea to have to just stagger the activation of the AI, do something different than what you're doing. Guess we'll go ahead and get Hive Tech and then another Evo Chamber. Let's lure them into the Sunken now that it's ready. Looks like blue and teal are the same script, judging by the Marine counts. So either one of them is fair game for an early assault. Let's test the waters and start sniping their depots, see how far they go. You kind of have to use hotkeys with Zerg. I'm not really sure of how else to do it. Oh, cool. We can stop this from happening. Perfect. That's strange. Oh, hello. Wonder how many barracks they have. Like, I'm not very good at the game, obviously, but I'm still more than enough to... I'm definitely spending more APM and more attention than I need to in order to win these maps with impunity. And you can say that maybe I'm just more of a... Like, I'm a higher level player than what was intended. I've seen that argument for a few times in a few different cases for something like this, where, hey, you say you probably don't need to... like, this is probably not as easy as it was when it came out because people were still learning the game. Like, that's fine. You don't actually need to make something that is more challenging from a perspective of like the average player, or even like a good player or whatever. You don't have to make something that's challenging to be engaging, to require you to at least play the game and be awake while doing so. Like in this case, the only thing that could really fuck me here is if I'm too complacent with my defenses. But even that, I don't think that's actually going to happen in this case. Because... where's my fucking queen? Oh, I think I lost the hotkey for her. That's fine. I really fucked up my hotkeys somehow. Oh, hi. What's up? So even with only +1 and being lazy with upgrades, I'm still annihilating everybody. Pretty sad. Although they're going to have tanks with siege mode pretty soon, I feel like. So we're not going to have the luxury of being able to say that anytime soon. That's right, so I rebound one of those production structures is what happened. Or, in order to make space for the other one. I'm really bad with control groups, I gotta say, man. Well, they don't seem to have siege mode yet. If they do, they are not using it. That's another thing. AI with tanks are really bad sometimes. Like, sometimes they're really good, and it doesn't seem to be something that has a pattern that you can really solve, per se. Come on in. I need your help, buddy. For old time's sake. Another thing that's pretty annoying about this way that the AI is set up in this case is they rarely handle their shit properly, insofar as you won't really see them. I'm really under-droned, actually. But you'll rarely see them do... Oof! Anything too crazy with their... Oh, hello. With the way that they defend. In fact, it's so rare to see them do anything defense-wise. Why the fuck is that rally that fucked up? But yeah, they pretty much shut down completely after they are ordered to well, after they get an order to defend. So the way that it works is that it basically sets a flag that says all spending requests must be defense requests. And that flag is set anytime they receive an order or begin to be attacked. So you can imagine this ends up being pretty destructive, actually, to the way that the AI is set up. Speaking of destructive, I am absolutely getting destroyed economically. This is what happens when you don't drone up behind your push. I was pretty confident that I would be able to break them entirely, but clearly that is not the case. No, don't do that, you fucking lunatic. So, now I'm thinking maybe it would be better to play defense, but... By the same token, I don't really know. Unless we can kill this Goliath. I'm definitely under-droned for a base, which is what you're supposedly what you want in a situation like this. Where'd my N go? Alright, let's see what we can do here. I'm not seeing a juicy spot to hit just yet. They have a lot of shit. Alright, cool. So, you can actually turn that flag off with advanced AI modding now, but, nobody does that. Virtually nobody. I'm a virtual nobody, and I do it. So that's not quite what I mean. But you guys know what I mean. Alright. I think they have one more production structure, one more factory somewhere. And by that I mean the actual term for factory. Alright, let's drone up behind this, and then we'll need a rotation of Hydras for sure because of the... undoubtedly, the purple AI are going to attack us soon. We probably won't wipe them out, or like they're all of their attack force out besides a single Goliath when we're en route to annihilating blue. So, in this case, you are at least rewarded a little bit for some form of early aggression, insofar as like I was able to pretty easily break teal, and then after some difficulty, I was able to break the other guy. Blue. But they pretty much just fell over. Like, it wasn't anything special what I did to break them. Wasn't anything particularly high skill. So I don't really know what to make of that. But I'll just Spawn more overlords, that's what we'll do. We know Teal's defeated anyways, because we wiped out all of his shit, and his SCV that was still alive turned, the dreaded neutral color. But yeah. This is another map where I feel like the level design isn't terribly grand. It's not nearly as bad as the last one for sure, but it's nothing nothing that makes up for it, we'll say. There's one more barracks somewhere. We'll nab that pretty soon. And then we're almost done with Hydras, man. Hydra Man. Which is the strategy we are employing currently. Some areas of this campaign also looked just totally terrible as well. This isn't, this map is not quite one of them, but again. Why did any of them have to be that bad? And this campaign is also famous for having those missile turrets on fucking islands. Why? Why is this shit just mixed in with purple? At least there's still 1-1. Whatever the fuck that means. Alright, well. In you go, I suppose. Well, I was kind of counting on those Hydras still staying up, but I guess it's not really that big of a deal. Just creep our way back up here, actually. And here you can see where there's really no reason for me to worry too much about expanding again. The number of times where I'll play a campaign and I'll expand once and then I'm done. Pretty sad, actually. Because that's a pretty big part of playing StarCraft. And you don't want it to just be a one-and-done kind of thing. So, whenever it is, it's a little, you know, just shed a tear of what might have been. If only the world were not filled with Mongols. If only Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 were not best-selling RTS games. Bye. No. Oh, by the way, that spending request thing that I was talking about earlier, where while they're under attack, they won't do any spending, that also includes repairs. So the few times you'll see an AI start to repair is because I started attacking its units and not its buildings, and the danger time, the response time, like, timed out or whatever. So it was like, oh, I'm allowed to build, you know, other kinds of units. Hi, Ahmed. So yeah, there is that. Why do they have so many pre-placed things? One AI will always have a billion pre-placed things, and then the other AIs don't have much at all by comparison, at least so far in the 3 or 2 maps we've played. Getting ahead of myself there. But whatever. Another map done. And with really minimal effort, I must say. Though again, like, it doesn't have to be challenging, but it shouldn't be just a grind. And you can hit 120 APM engagement without being really challenging. That's just like, if I'm not at around that level, I'm just asleep. I really have to be making up the immersion or the experience or the engagement somewhere else. And you're not going to get that out of a story anyways. It's not like I'm going to be really like paying attention to the story or the dialogue or the characters while I'm also executing at 120 or more APM. Whatever. At least it's done. We made 3 control groups because 3. Bye. Or not. Alright, who rebuilt? Was it you, Blue? Oh wait, there's another one right here. It's always the missile turret, man. Dumb. All right. Big crush brain moment, guys. And moving on. 3. Extermination. Put an end to the Zerg infestation. Looks like it's a Protoss map.
The creep of the Zerg is making its way into one of our bases. We have tried to ignore their advances until we are ready, but we can't wait any longer. It is Adun's will that you make their bodies into the fertilizer for...
What a psychotic transmission, and what a fast way to transmit it. Transmission. I eradicate the Zerg completely, by the way. Nobody use spell check. Aye. Hey! Fuck that guy up, dude. I'm actually okay with playing Protoss, man. I have not played Protoss in a while. And Pro is part of my name, so... Protoss, man. How did they allow that to happen, anyway? Hey, you know what that means? I can make a Reaver. I know I said I haven't played Protoss in a long time. Meanwhile, I did play Protoss, like, earlier this week, I guess, Monday. Whenever it was. But that's a long time for me, man. Listen, you know my name, not my story. Why do I have 65 max supply already? Holy moly. Alright. We will continue the macroing up. And really, we only need 100 gas for the Reaver that we are going to be using. But we will get some more gas anyways. I'm so surprised that, like, whoever made these maps must really not have liked to build supply depots or whatever. They pre-place so much supply for you. Seems a little silly. Oh, I'll show you enough minerals, Aldaris. Just you wait. And then up next, I guess I'll get Zealot legs since I'm already getting Dragoon range. I wonder where... who is the first man to call it Zealot legs? I mean, the icon is legs. It's called leg enhancements. I have to wonder who came up with that idea. Who authorized the use of Zealot legs? I was actually working on a Protoss production not so long ago. It's still like on and off in terms of development. It's one of those things where it's actually funny how far removed my design process has been from the old days where it was a little bit more subdued. I didn't have to worry about modding nearly as much. Because like really, even within Consummate, you think about the level of modding. And I think this is a conversation that can translate to this as well, because there's no modding here. And the maps are actually getting, like I said, smaller as we go through this bonus section. But the maps were really rocketing back and forth in terms of scale. Sometimes you would see like the final map be the largest map or whatever. Maybe that was pretty consistent. I don't really remember. But either way, you know, it was one of those things where you weren't really expecting... Like, nobody came into Retribution expecting greatness. Like, nobody came into my playthrough of Retribution expecting greatness. That's for sure. But it still wound up being a very standard, fair campaign in terms of quality, despite actually being one of those things where it's not... a... Well, it's not a finished product, we'll say. But it's also not a modded one. Alright, we'll just get into range there. Sit in range. Alright. I don't know what upgrade that was. I think it was Zealot Legs. So what else we got? Looks like... Oh, there's another one over there. Why? Why the obsession with sunken colonies? But, yeah, the modability argument, it certainly does make your campaign significantly more, Just think about it from the perspective of, like, what you can accomplish with modding versus what you can't. Or, what you can accomplish without modding versus what you can without. And, honestly, there's really not much that you can accomplish. If you're not going to be modding, at least somewhat. So, I don't know, man. I haven't seen an argument for not modding that has caught my attention as being particularly grand. But one of the things that has changed with my design philosophy is actually got, like, the opposite, where I've done even more modding. Where I've, like, StarCraft, I think, has issues. If you're going to be making a single-player campaign where the AI has some degree of an advantage over the player, like, there are going to be certain things that the... Wow, this is psychosis. That the, that are not suited for consumption, we'll say. Things that the AI benefits from, like having extra resources or whatever, where you aren't, like, just thinking of pre-placed units in general. Like, the AI has way more pre-placed units on this map than I do, obviously, even though I have a lot. And, like, that's something that you kind of have to just deal with. But with modding, you can at the very least reduce the amount of pre-placed units that you're going to be using. Maybe you can even try to even it out with intelligent AI design. Like, you know, you can do some things about that. And, I think that that's only right. That's only something that you should do. You can also create a unique identity for your project, and any number of other things. 3, by the way. And I can't believe that this is a map where you literally just want to run around attacking creep colonies. I mean, sunken colonies. Thanks for the chimp out, bro. I'm sure there must be some actual gameplay somewhere. Why? Why did they make... I made Reavers as a bit, but it's actually required in this case. I don't get it. Whatever. I still can't even fucking expand. Man, what a disaster. There's probably even more. At least in terms of what we've got here. I don't know. I don't know, man. Is there any hope? I don't think so. We'll even adjust our course here. I can't believe this is a real map. But yeah, there's a distinct lack of gameplay in this particular one. And I don't know if modding really would have helped this particular example, I guess you could have had the AI actually try to sunken rush you. Like, that's even something that I did in Hydra's first Terran mission, is have an AI that eventually does sunken push you. It's not really a rush. And obviously, the idea of a sunken rush is kind of a meme anyway. Countering Zealots with Hydras, by the way. Alright, well, we got more where that came from. Don't you worry. Don't you wet your pants just yet, man. We're in control. Rest in peace, by the way. Shit! It's fine, we got one on the way. And +1 on the way. Alright, we'll bring the Reavers this time, I guess. Hi. Hey, at least a Scarab on a Zergling is technically cost efficient. It's 15 minerals for 25 minerals of value. Think about it. Only brainiacs would come up with that idea. Alright, apparently the advanced Reaver Mongolism is a little too strong. There's another set of defensive structures we can deal with over here. Assuming the pathing doesn't annihilate it. Oh, looks like they're fine. They're in the clear. And I guess we're probably fine. This is another map where it's essentially just a fucking Psychosis A move. Oh, cool, they're completely out. One of the other things that's interesting about Reavers is that, generally speaking, like, you're not going to be dropping around with them in campaign maps too much because the AI has too many pre-placed defenders. They never really pay for themselves, per se. It's just a way to, like, not waste men as much, I guess. Oh, it was Parasite. I was wondering how the fuck they even saw that. But, yeah. It's like, oh, I don't have to suicide my Zealots. But, like, at that point, why even bother? Oh, my homo. Why are you doing that, man? Oh. There we go. Oh, hi. I see that went well. Sorry, why did I not expect about 10,000 sunken colonies? Maybe they wanted you to just mass carriers again. I guess I haven't done that in a while, but like, why? Destroyed. Uh-oh. Mwah! Mwah! Why does that work at all? That should not be allowed. That should be illegal. Oh, we killed that too. Nice. Well, these guys are basically bought and paid for, so Don't worry, the additional pylon space is coming. Oh, the Scarab was on the Reaver, dude. The Scarab is in the other Reaver. Right now it's just about how much mileage can I get for these things. Oh, okay, bye. Oh, answer is not much. Oh, got them both. Destroyed. Okay, bye. Okay. Listen, don't worry about it. We certainly don't need to expand any fucking time soon. Another one of those linear maps, though. This is the same thing as the first map, actually. Are these guys not arcade to 3? And if the answer is no, why aren't they? Why isn't everything that I own hotkeyed to 3 now that I think about it? Alright, fuck them up, dude. Clearly we fucked them up already and I wasn't even paying attention. So. Just fuck them up a little more. Oh, fuck. Fuck. Quick, kill him. We got him, dude. It's over. I think they get cleared of status effects if they return to the carrier, but fuck that. They'll go back if they get damaged. Destroyed. There you go, they get cleared of status effects when Ensnare runs out. How about that? Bet they didn't think that one through. Didn't think I'd pull the trump card on him. Well, I'm an American. I can't believe how easy these maps have been so far. Just another slaughter. But what can you say? It's just another one of them Retribution maps. Hey, they didn't even rename the forces for that one. Alright. Let's take a look at our final map here. Wow, Rocky Paper Scissors. This is a real name. Depressing. But hey, let's see what's up. One thing I will say about that last map, like I said, just like the first mission, just linear shit. At least the second mission where we were playing as Zerg, there was like, you went from a corner to the middle of the map and then fanned out there. in the first and third maps, you started out in a corner, you have to go all the way around the map to the other corner, and that's your final destination, right? Like, everything else is just a stop on your journey as you wipe out some of the other Zerg bases. No, I think that, yeah, they were Zerg bases in both cases. So not really that interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot to fucking read the description, sorry. Jesus Christ.
Members of the three races have decided to put their differences aside, but they must now deal with their brethren.
Reporting for duty.
Commander. Cerebrit. Executor. We do all of the work in building these new worlds and are tired of all the fighting and the killing. Using diplomacy on the lowest level, we have come to form an alliance that will bring a halt to the bloodshed on this planet. Unfortunately, our brethren have not seen the light, and as such we must undergo one last battle before we can bring peace to this region. Stop all those who would stand against us. Destroy any opposition to the unity of the races. This is stupid. But alright. Okay. Why did I... Oh, I guess I got an Overlord because they were rescuable. Why were they rescuable? What was the reason behind that? Well, all I see is an excuse to do some psychotic strategy. I think a long time ago when I was playing a map where I was able to do some... I was able to use Terrans and Protoss. Kaji Tetsushi, a real man on my server, and in my audience in general, asked me to do Arbiter and Tank. So what I'll do now is I'll do Arbiter, Tank, Hydra, I guess. Gonna need a lot of gas for the Arbiters, but we'll be okay. My main issue is, like, I have no idea what the fuck to expect, as far as the enemy is concerned. This is also a pretty big map, so... I'm at the supply cap for the Terrans. Can you get the fuck out of my way? Pretty much always forget to balance the depots with the overlords and everything else, so... You're going to be hearing some form of additional supply depots required or another. Alright. I kind of have this in reverse order where this should be 1 and this should be 3. Just based on left to right. Takes a lot of APM just to get this done. To, like, control all of the different races. So this will be great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't build there. Roger that. SCB good to go, sir. Can't build it. Something's in the way. Yes, sir. Roger that.
Yeah, with some random SCV coming out.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was going to be the Marine or something. At least we don't need to expand, I guess. Jesus Christ. We're already at dangerous economic levels in terms of what we got here. We will instantly start floating money if we stop spending it. Just with these units already. I'm also, like, forgetting if I've already, you know, queued up, a structure or not. Right back to it, I guess.
Piece of me, boy. Let's move. Go, go, go. Rock and roll. Standing. Let's move. Rock and roll. Go, go, go. Rock and roll. Rock and roll.
We go. I think we managed to stabilize. Alright. Start our tank production now. Well, not really our tank production per se, but you know what I mean. Well, Kaji Tetsushi, it's what a time to be alive for you, man. Annihilated. Now that's a fucking probe drill. Not quite sure how that happened, but I'll take it. Can't build there.
Reporting for duty, Commander. I can't build there. Orders, Captain? Affirmative.
We still have that. Oh no, he died. An unceremonious death, but my zealot's still alive.
Reporting for duty. Affirmative. Right away, sir. Roger
As you can see, we are indeed floating ludicrous amounts of gas. That's okay.
Add-on complete. Add-on complete.
How do they figure that this is a closer gas deposit? How? I will never understand that one.
Job finished. Ready to roll out. Ready to roll out. Right away, sir. Roger that. Affirmative.
Oh, you know what? I should also get an academy just for marine range and shit.
Job finished. Affirmative. Job finished.
That's
Roger
okay.
that.
Research.
Working on everything.
Orders, sir. SCB good to go, sir. Identify target. Our forces are under attack. Absolutely. Job finished.
I'm actually not sure. It looks like probes are what we're lacking in the most right now, so I'll just transfer some drones over in that direction. Looks like we managed to evade the wrath of losing Overlord. We're already supply blocked, so it's pretty good. Glad we managed to avoid that. There's the Arbiter Tribunal, and soon we'll have everything we need. Hey.
Destination Latitude, sir.
Annihilated.
The unity of three races.
I should probably grab another gateway just for extra zealot production. Alright, yeah, I was gonna get one of these. Maybe some cannons.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Alright, now's the time where we get serious about the Zerg production. And we station our shit here. And we also are going to be finding our enemies. It's going to take some searching. So we grab our arbiters are halfway to completion here. Oh yeah, we need a fleet bacon. We want to get tier 3, tier 2 and tier 3
Upgrade calculate complete.
tier 3 something or other. Oh yeah, tier 2 and tier 3 air weapons. Glad I could finish a fucking sentence. So that was recall completing. I'm not seeing a whole lot of promise in this map's layout, man. I thought it was a really open map for a second, but it doesn't appear to be the case. On an additional viewing. There we go.
SCB good to go, sir.
Alright. Hell yeah. Alright. Alright. I don't know what the fuck is happening now, but that's okay. Nobody needs to. Hydra's out the wazoo. Oh yeah, no wonder we require more fucking gas. It's because these guys are being retards with their gas mining. I'll fix that real quick. Oh yeah, and I need a starport pretty badly as well. Were we supply blocked earlier? What's going on there? I think we're going to be aiding our Terran brethren here. Alright, cool. I see some teal dots over in the bottom right. Clear that out. What's up, dude? Fucking destroyed by arbiters. Why is that happening? I don't know if any of them have main bases or what. Or I don't know where any of their main bases would be, I guess is a better way of putting that. Unsurprisingly, we've managed to
Yeah? Report for duty. Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Roger that.
handle our business here.
I read you. Roger that. Identify target. Orders, sir. Ready to roll out.
Hi. I think I need more arbiters just for that.
Orders, sir. Delighted to, sir. Orders received. Roger that.
Come on. You can do it.
Report ready to roll out. Identify target. Orders, sir.
Hi. Alright. We managed to annihilate purple, it seems. So there's teal, purple, and blue. Blue is Zerg, I think. I wonder if they are also strictly allied to one another. I probably should have paid attention to whether or not that was the case, but I can't say that I was paying attention, unfortunately.
I read you. Reporting for duty.
Really?
Unacceptable landing zone.
Yeah, you don't fucking say.
Reporting for duty. Order scout. Orders received.
Looks like we were one short on that gas as well, which would explain some things. No, I mustn't. By the way, what are our upgrades at? Should probably grab 3-3 for Hydras, since we just grabbed 2-2 for tanks. We don't have any upgrades for Protoss besides, well, we have some for air, but none for ground beyond shields, which is probably fine, I guess. Fuck him up, dude. Alright. So I still haven't found Blue. I have no idea where he is. And it looks like this is their main base. It's just that it's so huge that it... Oh, there you go. Found some. Alright, we can get some more tanks for a juicy recall, which we do have the energy for now. We have a pretty fair number of Hydras as well, as a matter of fact. Should definitely be able to handle anything there. Hold the phone. Some of you guys need to come back over here. Never mind, I guess. I don't know. What a tiny fucking way in. Annihilated. Oh, okay. What? We'll definitely need more than one recall to get all of them in there, but that's okay. Looks like we found another purple structure. Perhaps the last. They should be a higher upgrade level than us, but it actually doesn't seem like they are by that much. Alright. Hi.
Upgrade complete. Upgrade complete.
Our forces are under attack.
Alright. Handle that later on. Need more tanks. Annihilated. Oh yeah, we can even detect cloaked units now. I swear I did actually do that deliberately, but of course I forgot that I did that deliberately. So I thought maybe that was an error at first. That's when you big brain yourself. I don't know why I have that on control group 5. Alright, they have not re-expanded. I wish that we got like some sort of defeat transmission. Actually, one of those things that I totally agree with Necron on this, because when we were developing the Co-op 2017, which turned into Project Hydra, I actually ended up adding to the Revolution mission a transmission where Duke says, "All right, you sorry bastards, fall back," which is a line from the 3rd Zerg mission in vanilla, which is part of a larger dialogue event. But in that case, I just used it as a single throwaway line that after which you would get victory. And it's a simple line, but it helped show that you had defeated them, and there was like an actual, you know, player, so to speak, behind those units. And I thought that it was a pretty simple thing to add in, but one of the things that he had pointed out was, you know, you don't really see stuff like that in the context of other campaigns. And it definitely helps add a human-ish element to the overall experience. And like, it makes you feel a little bit more like maybe, you know, there's a little bit more to the overall situation. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but here you go. There you go. There's the money shot. What everybody was waiting for. That was not quite where I thought it would be. That's okay, we still got a fair bit of Hydras in here. Hi. Why do they always have such enormous, like when they do have a big map, right? They always have enormous bases within those big maps that sprawl everywhere, take forever to find and kill every last unit in, and they make a victory condition out of the whole, you know, placing the, or killing the last of their pre-placed structures, rather. And I just don't get it, man. Not only do I not get it, but I actually feel like it's incredibly irresponsible as a developer to waste your players' time to this ridiculous extent. Because, again, we're not really being engaged in, but even if this were a challenging mission, I still wouldn't want to hunt down every last fucking structure. That's why I feel like the, you know, kill all enemy production structures thing in Hydra, which is a victory condition in most of the Hydra maps right now, I think that that's a precursor to something that's going to be a little bit more robust somewhere down the line, where it's very it's obvious based on the number of enemy resources, the amount of resources you own, and the like basically the available comeback mechanics for the AI. Different AI personalities will quote-unquote surrender in different points, but I feel like surrendering, and this sort of goes back to the whole defeat transmission that I was talking about, surrendering should probably be a part of an AI's personality, just like it is for a human player, where you get a human player who GG's out at a certain point. And maybe this could be analyzing some sort of decisive blow, where like you wipe out half the opponent's army in 1 second or something, and in one massive fell swoop, and you are then in a position to immediately capitalize upon it. Again, trying to detect this shit is really hard, so I would never necessarily expect that I'd be able to do it immediately, but it's one of those things where I don't feel like it would be too difficult to at least try and find. You know, examples of or something. And I don't know, I feel like that's worth exploring anyway. Speaking of exploring and what is or is not worth exploring, I don't think it's worth exploring this fucking map looking for the last, oh, it was not a bunker, actually. It was a missile turret. I mean, it was not a missile turret, it was a bunker. Fuck, that really, that was embarrassing. But we did it. Nice doodad. I don't even think that's placeable in normal star edit. Let the new era begin. Or, how about this was the only campaign that I've played in a long time that had any degree of macro in it, so there was no fucking era. Nice us versus them, though. And that's it. That was the final mission from Retribution. Of course, there are multiplayer maps. Apparently, there are even co-op maps, but I don't... Are these actually against computers? It looks like it. I thought these were going to be like, you know, 2v2 maps or something, but it looks like there are actual co-op missions. Nonetheless, I'm not going to be playing those. Yeah, teams would be that, I suppose. Quick. As in what, there's small maps or something? I don't know. They had a lot of map packs, and one of the things that Dynamo actually had said at the beginning of, or at the end of the stream when I was talking about the whole idea that this is a commercial product released for money, for profit, not custom content made by a hobbyist in a weekend, which is what it feels like. Dynamo said that these were sort of like compilations of missions, which were really popular back in the day of StarCraft and the day of StarCraft's initial release. That may be true, but there's no reason for that to really occur, I think, in this case, and be what this project is, what this product is, and still be sold for money. Like, you can have compilations, but why the fuck would you sell them? There was a few cases of maps that were really annoying to play. In fact, if I hadn't played the Zerg campaign and I had just extrapolated what I know from the Terran and Protoss campaigns, what I experienced from there, if I had extrapolated that experience and said, all right, that's probably what the Zerg campaign is like, and then never played the Zerg campaign, I would have a much better view of the campaign overall, of the project overall, than what I ended up getting. But it still would not have been good enough to be a, worth your money kind of deal. And maybe there could be some other way to demonstrate just how bad it is that people made money off of producing this kind of content. Maybe I could demonstrate by making a map like that. This is one of the things that occurred to me, is like the making of a Retribution map. What would you look for in a video like that? Like, how long would it take you to actually make a Retribution map? Even some of the larger scale ones. Well, let me tell you, since they did basically nothing, it would actually take less time in Mapcrap than Mapcrap gets for a 4-hour map to produce, for anybody, for any of the people who participate in Mapcrap, to produce something that was on the level of this quality. Because again, there's no modding, there's no custom AI, there's barely any fucking terrain detailing within the base editor. Even without using SEM Draft 2 to accomplish this, and using the fucking campaign editor that you see right here, which is what they used, like, it's crazy to think that it would take you longer than 4 hours to make something like this. So these are literal map craps, and that's depressing, man, that we just played a campaign entirely made up of map craps. Probably with less effort than most people put into their map craps. And presumably in less time than most people spend on their map craps. So I guess that really carries us to the end here. Of course, the review will be coming at some point soon, but I did say I would play these bonus maps, and I wanted to make good on that. So here you go. The bonus maps are done. Hope you enjoyed the playthroughs and the analysis therein. I guess I didn't really give you that much analysis on that final mission, but again, it's very much a lot of the same analysis and feedback and critique that I have for the previous 3 missions. Not a whole lot of engagement in terms of difficulty, and a massive map where you had to go hunting the enemies. That's a little bit more like the Zerg campaign, actually, than the 3 missions that preceded it, but still, very similar. Nothing really stood out in this entire campaign as like a singular, really, really fun mission, or really good mission. There was that one map where we were encouraged to pick off enemy bases in the early game, but even if they had built up, we wouldn't have been in danger, so you can't really say that it was leaving the opportunity for early game open to you, but still allowed the ability to, go through and not do that. Because even if you didn't, you were never in any danger, and you were never being engaged. You were just moving through slightly more built-up enemy forces. And in that respect, that's pretty much everything that you were doing in all of the maps in this entire campaign, beyond the micro missions, obviously. But there were admittedly very few micro missions in this entire campaign, so I'll take that and say, great. I wish more campaigns would follow suit. Of course, if the number of micro missions in your campaign is greater than 0, and you don't have a massive amount of engine rewrites necessary to actually add the amount of interactivity needed to, again, keep players at around 120 APM or whatever, so that you can not waste their time and not make them feel completely disengaged and not have them falling asleep, great. You'll be fine. You'll be fired, more like, because that means that you have just ignored everything that everybody has said about micro missions and just assumed that, hey, Blizzard did it, so I got to do it too. Which seems like what they did here with Retribution, they being WizardWorks, of course. So with WizardWorks out of the picture, we can move on to Insurrection, made by Aztec New Media. Aztec. Now, a funny thing about that is that was actually written by Blizzard, or co-written or ghost-written or something by a Blizzard writer, so that's pretty embarrassing when you get to see what exactly happens in Insurrection. So just take note of that, and that'll whet your appetite for this coming week when we are going to be doing some Insurrection. We'll start that on, say, Tuesday the 20th, so I'll see you there. Bye!